We can. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 25th Ferguson City Council. We're going to start with our opening ceremony. The meeting is now called to order. We're going to stand for a silent prayer, then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for standing. At this time, Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilwoman Noah.
Here.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Here.
Councilwoman Lipka.
Here.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Here.
And then Mayor Jones.
Here, a quorum is present. At this time, we'll open our public comments. Clerk Pittman, do we have any comments for today?
Yes, ma'am. I had two comments submitted. The first was from Nick Kassoff.
Okay,
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, great. I want to address this evening the issue of the city complying with the Sunshine Law. As some of you may guess, the Sunshine Law is kind of one of my pet peeves. I believe that the Sunshine Law is probably the most important thing in our state statutes to hold our government accountable to the people, because it allows the people to demand information from the government that belongs to them. Our state sunshine law specifies what can be sunshined. It specifies time frames during which you can you're entitled to a response, and it also provides for a public interest exception to the fees that are levied for the ordinary sunshine request. And I feel like the city is falling short on every one of those aspects. Most important is the timeliness in response. So if you look at the city's sunshine portal, you can see that at any given moment, there's a bunch of sunshine requests which are far beyond the statutory deadline, and they're just sitting out there waiting for somebody to do something. That's unacceptable, because when somebody makes a request, they've got a need for that information, and it needs to be provided when the state law provides for it. Now, we also have another opportunity to provide transparency through that sunshine portal, and that would be to allow anybody who's looking at the portal not only to see the request, but also to see the documents that are responsive to that request. I believe Ferguson has done this in the past, and I know that other entities that use that same portal software that we do are allowing that to happen. But in Ferguson, if I make a sunshine request, you can't see the product of my request. You can't go to the portal and see the information that the city provided. That should be done on every sunshine request so that other people who are interested can get that information without having to submit another request. Now, I'm also concerned about frivolous closing of requests. It doesn't happen very often, but I'm going to give you one good example. At the beginning of January, Mike Palmer, who is one of the candidates for city council, put in a sunshine request for the petitions that were submitted by candidates. Now, we know that some of those petitions had already been handed in, and yet that sunshine request was closed, and he was told to come back after the 25th of January. Sunshine Law doesn't allow for that kind of response. If the city has information that's responsive, they have to turn it over. And if they don't, you simply respond, there are no documents that are responsive to this request. One last thing I want to say is that there is a public interest exclusion to fees, which the city can do and which is encouraged by state law. So if somebody from the media, not for a commercial purpose, makes a sunshine request of the city, and the request isn't excessive or burdensome, the city can waive those fees. I've made sunshine requests to the county and to state agencies, and in every case, they've fulfilled those requests at no charge if they could be satisfied electronically, or in most cases, if they mailed me information as well. With Ferguson, there is never a waiver of fees, even though I request it every time. Now, it's usually just a few dollars, but the fact of the matter is, as you know, I publish the Ferguson Observer and we do some research into what's going on with the city. We don't have city funding like the other newspaper does. We don't have advertising revenue, except just a few dollars that are paying for web hosting. And it'd be great if we didn't have to pay out of our own pockets as reporters for these sunshine requests. That's why the state law has this exclusion, and the city could be doing that in order to provide additional transparency. I know that Mr. Osterberg, prior to coming to Ferguson, was a big advocate for the sunshine law at his previous jobs, and that he has some great ideas on pushing forward with transparency in Ferguson. I hope that'll happen here with sunshine requests, and I hope it happens very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassoff. Who do we have next?
Next, we have Erica Brooks.
Good evening. Hello, City of Ferguson and residents. I'm writing to follow up with the procedure of how the American Rescue Plan Act funding will be distributed amongst the wards of Ferguson according to the needs and not by the people, programs, and organizations who are able to write grants and or have knowledge of how to access the ARPA funding. Yes, the city had 2 in-person and online forums as well as an email to get more input on how funding should be spent. However, what about the residents who are not aware of the input forms, who are not tech savvy and don't use social media or have an email and still use snail mail? In addition, how is the city reviewing previous community concerns to evaluate which neighborhoods and which wards need infrastructure replacement, street resurfacing, more lighting, derelict houses addressed with trees and shrubbery removal, and facade windows and curb appeal until the owner sells their property? What issues in Ward 2 have our city councilwomen, Tony Burrow and Heather Robinette, submitted as priority issues to be funded by the ARPA funding? Will we, as residents, be able to review all the key concerns that were tabulated from the forums and the email and voice our opinion by mail and email to say what issues are most important before the final issues are earmarked for the ARPA funding? We as a community want the ARPA funding to be fairly distributed to all the community of Ferguson and not to the people who have access. Erica M. Brooks, Ferguson resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. City Clerk Pittman, do we have any other comments?
No, ma'am, those are the only 2 I have.
Okay, comments section is now closed and everything will be submitted to the staff for review. At this time, we will have our manager's report. City Manager Eric Osterberg, would you please make your report?
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. First up is our COVID update. Chief Hampton was unable to join us today due to a illness with his family. He's taking care of a close family member. So in lieu of that, I will just be giving a brief update about COVID, but my comments will be more focused on our organization. So at the peak of the pandemic last year, when this started, the city of Ferguson at most had six employees out with COVID. When Omicron struck the city at the beginning of the year, the beginning of this month, we had between 13 pushing 15 employees out. I'm happy to report now that that seems to have passed, and we now only have about 3 members of our staff who are still out. So we're seeing operations improve, and we're seeing people come back to the office. So I'm very pleased about that. Moving on, I did want to give a brief update about ARPA. Our public engagement campaign did conclude. It was really great that everybody took the time out of their busy schedules to come to the table and to share their ideas with us. We are in the process as staff of tabulating all those results. All of those results will be made public on the Moving Ferguson Forward website ahead of the next city council meeting, where I will be going over all of the ARPA funding. The way that that's going to work is that there will be some recommendations from staff, but the bulk of that presentation to council next meeting will be just breaking down what we heard from our citizens and how that does or does not align up with the final rule from the Department of Treasury. I'll stop there. It looks like there's a question from Councilor Litka.
You muted.
Okay. Most of the world likes that. I was just going to say, would you also make note so that our citizens, especially like Ms. Brooks, can be aware of the fact that city council members have been directly asked to contribute to their thoughts, and that we have done. So I just feel like it's important for you to tell the community that that there's been communication amongst the council members and you and the staff.
Yeah, so council has been sharing their ideas, and then also at the next meeting, council will share additional ideas that they have that they might not have shared already. All right, moving on. We just had a brief comment from our code supervisor today for city council. Jean? You are muted, Jean.
There we are. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members, and citizens of Ferguson. Just wanted to make a quick statement regarding a software presentation that just happened earlier this evening. When I first initially came in, I noticed that there were some deficiencies in the way that the transparency and the way that code enforcement cases were being in 3 ways. One, the way that they were being reported by the citizens, the way that were being investigated by the code enforcement officers, and the way it was being reported back to the citizen, which was actually not happening. So I think, and this is really brief, I think that this software that we were proposing, that City Manager Osterberg was proposing, I think it will be a great step forward for us as a code enforcement team to better serve the community and also be more transparent and have more transparency when it comes to reporting to you and to the citizens of Ferguson. And so I think that this is something that we should really, really look at as a way to going forward to better serve the community. And that was what I had to say. And there's one more thing that I'd like to extend an invitation to Madam Mayor and all the city council members I'd like to extend an invitation for have you guys ride with me for an hour or 2 in your respective wards. That way I could see code enforcement through your eyes and see how we can have our team better serve you and the community. Thank you.
I will accept that invitation. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will too, Jean. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. We talked about it when you first came on.
I know, it's time.
We've actually talked about some businesses already.
Yeah.
Gene, this is Tony Barrow. You might want to start that list because it seems like all of us have said yes.
Not all at the same time, I hope, but I will certainly take as much time on the weekends, whenever I am at your disposal, whenever you want to take me up on it.
Well, I will say Phaedra and I went with Elliot and the zoning, and we got a lot covered in Ward 1. I'm sure Phaedra and I could team up again and do that with you.
I
Sure
would.
can, Linda. That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad that you're all for it.
Okay.
Thank you, Gene. Moving on, I have another issue or another item on the, in the spirit of transparency. Reviewing the documents, we have a situation where I believe it is prudent that the city switch our auditor. Out of the past 10 years, I believe 8 or 9 of those years, we've worked with the same auditing firm. Now, for those of you who don't know, the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, recommends that you have switching out auditors every 2 to 3 years. The reason why is because auditors will get lazy potentially and feel safe in the relationship with the city. So it's always good to have a new, fresh set of eyes every 2 to 3 years. That's step one of looking at an audit. It will be this. I will be within the next couple of weeks here releasing an RFP for a new audit firm, and then in addition to that, I will be releasing a separate audit for potentially looking at getting in a forensic audit. So in-depth, full detail audit of all of the city's finances, just to better situate the city moving forward. Offering us a blank slate moving forward. I anticipate that we're likely going to have a lot of responses that are able to do both, but at least at the beginning, I want to have a as comprehensive as an audit as possible on a forensic level.
Councilwoman Burrow, you had your hand up first. Councilwoman Libka, then Councilwoman Nelson.
Eric, I'd like to know, how soon do you think we could get a comprehensive annual financial report? I believe it's due in January.
Yes, we just had. Oh, we just had the audit finished. The audit that just finished did generate a CAFR. But if you'd like are you asking for like a presentation of the overview of our finances?
Yes, and another thing that I don't know who does have it, but I know I don't have a copy of the final budget. I don't know by show of hands if any other council person has it, but I think that's something we should all have as well.
Yeah, we're
working.
working.
If we're going to do a final report, then we're going to need, if you're going to do an annual report, we're going to need that budget. And the other thing, could you just give us an update on where we are with the finance director, and how long do we think we're looking at that? Just so everybody will.
Yes, absolutely. So going down the list, first, yes, we just did generate a comprehensive annual financial report. That's what the audit presentation in December was for. I can go ahead and plan on giving another overview of our finances as they sit right now to City Council. I'll make sure that's a priority for a council meeting next month. The second question was
I don't want to interrupt you on that, but I just
budget.
Since you're writing on it, sir, what I'd like to have that in a document.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
forward you the CAFR that we have. Next, the budget. We do have the final budget published on our website, but I am in the process of working on getting hard copies made for council. You can at any time now, and this is for the public as well, access our full budget on Ferguson on our city website. It's under our finance department tab. It is a hyperlink on that page. And then lastly, to answer your final question, Councilor Burrow. We will be scheduling the first, tomorrow I'm scheduling the first 2 interviews for our finance director. So I believe that it will be within the next 3 weeks that we have a new finance director, I'm hopeful.
Thank you so much, sir.
Councilwoman Lipka?
So let me make sure I've got, okay, yeah. So when you say forensic audit, Eric, the word forensic puts the fear of something being hidden into everybody's thought process. So why are you feeling that this is necessary? Can you give some reasoning just to set people's minds at ease?
Sure. Part of it is that it is a custom for when you have a new city manager come in, especially after significant staff turnover or public concerns, that sometimes we'll have a city manager come in and you just do an additional level of an audit. It's not necessarily that there's any suspicion about anybody or anything that's gone on. It's more about just starting a blank slate moving forward.
Okay, good, thank you. And we have had some turnover with the fact that we've got a new financial director coming on board, and you and so forth, and interims in the meanwhile. Where are we on the human resource director?
Yes, so currently we have Chris Crable who's filling in on the kind of the more strategic side, and we just recently reposted our human resources staff person on the website again. We did not receive any applications when we posted it at the end of December or in December.
And we have ruled out using an outside third party, correct?
Yes. So if you'll remember, City Council, I did a RFP to try and see if we could contract out those human resources services. It was over what our budgeted amount was for our human resources director position and the existing budget. So I went ahead and just posted that position to see what we can get.
I would just make, trying to be creative and finding candidates, maybe go to some of your largest corporations, maybe some local Emerson, whatever, and look into their interns at different human resource departments, because interns who are working in those departments may be ready for a new position.
That's a great idea. I appreciate that. I'll do that tomorrow. Send that into post that in additional places like that.
Or even second in charge, maybe ready to be first in charge. I'm putting my hand down. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Councilwoman Nelson.
Eric, I just had a real quick question. You made note that the norm was kind of to switch out every 2 to 3 years regarding the firm you may be using for the audit. So
Yes.
How long has the city of Ferguson, with me being a new council person, how long have we had the firm that we have now?
8 out of the past 10 years.
Okay.
But we've also gotten #1 ratings those years.
Just speaking out of turn, it was approximately 4 years ago that I suggested that we change out the audit the same way Eric has said tonight. It generally is, in my experience, more like 4 to 5 years when auditors are changed out. But even though we had good points and all of that, as Eric indicated, sometimes what ends up happening, it can become routine, and it can become so familiar that it's just a check box, and they check the box. So to prevent that, generally, if you bring another company in fresh, the first thing they're gonna do is check the last that was there to make sure that they don't walk into anything that was misconstrued as correct. So it's a good thing to change them out. And I think I would consider every 4 to 5 years, because the first year you're gonna check the person behind you, the organization. Second year, you come up with what you think. Third year, you're turning out a good audit. Fourth year, this is your last chance to give us what you got. So it's about 4 to 5 years if you break it down strategically.
Councilwoman Nelson, do you have any additional questions? Your hand is still up.
I did have one more question. So maybe I missed it. Eric, did you say that Chris will be just filling in as the HR for right now until you can do
Yeah.
your hiring, doing your interviews and things?
Yeah, so Chris right now is doing kind of all the strategic level HR. And I mean, what I mean by that is more of the things that are required by law. So like filing FMLA, all those critical functions. I do have to say those have been elevated compared to how they were being conducted just a few months ago.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Robinette?
Yes, just quick question for our city manager, Osterberg. The forensic audit, I mean, a forensic audit is pretty thorough, detailed, costly. That's currently not in our budget for the 21-22 year. What are you proposing? Do you have an estimate, and how are you proposing to fund that?
Yeah, so my thought, that's a great question, Councilor Robinette. My thought was that we do have the annual budget line for the audit, and it's my hope that just going to RFP, ideally we get some firms that respond to both, and then we're maybe looking at starting that just earlier in like July 1 of 2023, or sorry, 2022, just the beginning of fiscal year 23.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do right quick. City manager, you did say that no one has applied for the HR position, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's why okay. All right, thank you.
I just have two things, Mayor. About a month ago, Eric, you did let us know that Chris would be doing the HR position for the strategic pieces, correct?
Yes, I did let everybody know that.
So we got that in the minutes. At least I got it in my notes right here. And the other thing was the other pieces that are needed, then you're backing that up yourself. So it's between you and Chris where we're getting our HR intervention while we're waiting on somebody to take that position. I just want to make everybody aware of what the other piece is being taken care of. Is that correct?
Correct. So we, at the moment, when during the beginning of the transition, there was a lot of things that I had to kind of train and fill Chris in on. I was previously the HR director as part of my assistant city manager duties at Klamath Falls, Oregon. So it was just kind of getting him caught up to speed to help us in this transitionary period.
Thank you for that verification. The last thing I have is that when we talk about the audit that you're proposing, the forensic audit, and that's why I want that annual report, because when we get into the report and when I get that budget in my hand, because the kind of work that we want to do line by line is very difficult for a bean counter looking at it on the machine with nothing for variance to back it up. And I would suggest to you that once these audits come into play and the financial piece, there may not be that hopefulness that there would be some money available that was not already written into the budget. So it may be that we might want to move that out to the 2023. I understand being hopeful, but I think in reality, when we got things that we're going to be looking at, I just want to let you know without that already being in the budget, you know what I'm saying? I don't want you to be disappointed.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing the RFP now, because we know we have the budget process coming up, and I want to make sure that we have figures down so we know what it's going to cost. Hence why I said I think we should be looking at July 1st for expenditure.
Thank you.
And that concludes my manager's presentation.
You have yard signs for the city-owned property?
Oh, I thought, so there's the manager's presentation and then there's presentations.
Okay, the special
Yeah.
presentation.
Right.
Okay, economic development sales tax funding.
Yes, so Octavia, can I share my screen? I guess we could have just put this under my manager's report, but I wanted to make sure it was on. the
You should
agenda.
be able to share now.
Okay, all right. Bear with me, everybody. I'm sorting through my windows. All right, can everybody see the screen? It should say EDST fund overview.
Yes.
All right, so I had a few counselors about a month and a half to 2 months ago request that I give a kind of an overview about our economic development sales tax fund. For the public, we refer to that as our EDST fund. So this presentation, I'll be going over 4 things. First, the kind of the history of the fund, how we got here, eligible uses for the funds, and then the project expenditure overview for the last part. So first off, what is EDST? So EDST stands for an economic development sales tax. So what that is it's a 1/2 cent sales tax. So that's a 1/2 penny per dollar that's assessed on purchases at point of sale in the city of Ferguson. As an aside, this, if Prop U were to pass, this would also be assessed on online purchases as well. And they're already being collected, as a reminder. EDST history. So in 2005, the Missouri House introduced a bill that authorized the city to pass what is called an economic development sales tax levy. That was something that in the state statute, in the bill, there were certain limits placed upon how that funding, how high you can make the levy, and then what you could use that funding for. So the restrictions on the funding. In April of 2016, that was referred to the citizens by City Council, and then collections. That was a successful ballot measure in 2016, and then collections began in October 2016. I glazed over in the previous slide that we accrue about $1 million annually of that fund. So this is the bulk of the presentation, and the bulk of the request from council is just a review of the statutory limits. So the Missouri Revised Statutes specifies how we can use this funding. Generally, the idea is that we're using these funds to support the economic development functions of a city. So that's, business attraction, business retention, tourism, getting people to come and visit our city. So that's a pretty broad idea, but there are still some restrictions to kind of to communicate what the state is saying we can and cannot use the funding for. So first on the restrictions list is the downtown retail restriction. On the EDST sales tax, we can only use funds to support the development of retail or the recruitment of retail or the support of retail businesses in our downtown area. So that's the first restriction. So if you'll remember, I believe December or November of last year, Bailey Mitchell gave you a presentation about the forgivable business loan program and why we can only do that program within the downtown. The second restriction is an interesting one. It's the TIF or other existing tax district restrictions. So what the statute says is that if the city of Ferguson is interested in using funds in a way to kind of bulk up or support businesses or economic development initiatives in areas of a city where there's already a TIF or some sort of tax assessed, then that has to be referred to by the EDST board to City Council for approval. On that note, we do have Elliot Liebson as our EDST staff liaison, and Councilor Burrow. We will be reaching out to you as we need to get the EDST board reconvened to do some important work related to EDST. I'll loop back around on that as my last point on this slide. Next, there's a 20% floor on long-term economic development spending. What that means is that annually, at least 20% of the funding, 20% of that about $1 million we get every year has to be used for long-term economic development activities in the city. It can't fall below that. Next is the ceiling. So we cannot spend more than 25% of that $1 million a year on admin support, or the administrative overhead for economic development activities that would be conducted by our planning staff or the city administrative staff. Lastly, kind of the last requirement is that annually by March, by sometime in March, we are to submit a report to the state that's reviewed by our EDST board that gives an overview of the expenditures of the EDST fund. So that's just a look at how in the previous year EDST funds were expended, just to make sure that it falls within these statutory limits. I'm going to go ahead and pause on this slide before I go over the last couple of slides to give City Council ample opportunity for questions or clarification points. And I apologize, my voice.
So I'm getting some information, people coming at me saying that the state is collecting it, but we need to pass the use tax to get the money, that we are not collecting a use tax. So can you just differentiate?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I might have made a comment that confused the EDST funding with a Prop U. I think what they're referring to is the Prop U funding, the Prop U tax. Yeah, the EDST is something that we receive. It's already being collected.
Okay.
Yeah. Was there any additional questions from council before I continue? All right, moving on.
One question, Eric.
Yes.
Who commissioned this presentation?
I had
Literally,
a few.
names. Who commissioned this presentation?
I had a few counselors reach out and request it.
Okay, and so did you sit down with Elliot when you were gathering all this information? Because I sat down with Elliot a year ago on the same situation with then Jeff Bloom, and to get started on the EDTS commission. And so there's information that is not in this report as far as I can see so far. So I'm wondering, what was the requirement when this request was made? And I would think that we kind of doing this a little backwards, and we can have a conversation about this later, when you have a commission already. And so the commission has not been brought in at this presentation. At least I was never consulted. I never knew, and that's not surprising for this council, I never knew that this was being requested for you to do a presentation, and never heard from Eric. And Eric and I have had the in-depth, and also I had the same in-depth with Lexi in regards to this fund. But that's something I think we need to talk about as far as, because we talk about transparency and we talk about inclusivity, and this is a prime example of not as what's happening. But go ahead and finish, and I'll have some more questions.
Yeah, those questions for the clarity on the EDST funding go back to when Bailey gave the public presentation to City Council about the forgivable business loan program. There was some questions from a few members on council, and I don't know the specific ones. I guess we could look at the minutes related to EDST and what the funding restrictions were back then.
Thank you.
Moving on. So now I just want to kind of go over some of the current and past legacy uses that how we've expended the funds for EDST so far. So we've used it for business grants, specifically just the ones I was talking about, the forgivable loan program in our downtown area. We've used it for property demolition, zoning code updates, historic district survey, comprehensive plan, West Florissant rezoning. We recently are using it for our Parks and Rec master plan, the Raise Grant match that's upcoming, Gilmore and Bell Services as a consultant firm for our economic development activities, and then again, of course, our planning and economic development administrative overhead. Some additional, and then last slide, some additional potential future uses. We can use it for land acquisition, marketing, supporting business incubators, citywide software that supports economic development or property or activities that restore or uphold city properties. cleanups, events, and then enhanced wayfinding around our city to kind of highlight our businesses. Those are some uses that other cities in the state of Missouri, how they've used their EDST funding. And that ends my presentation. Was there any additional questions?
Yes. So, yeah, I do. I'm going to use this time to ask you the quick question regarding the presentation earlier, the special presentation, the
Absolutely.
GoGov program that Gene Diaz referred to. Is there going to be some overlap with Flash Vote, or is it going, that notification or that communication piece with citizens, is that going to have some overlap, or are we looking to do more sterile communication regarding GoGov and more touchy-feely communication and getting opinions and insights and interpretations with the other one?
Yeah, that's a great question, Councilor Lifka. I would say that it's not entirely duplicative. So, or, there's not entirely overlap. So, for example, a citizen with Flash Vote, we couldn't use that to report a code issue and then be updated about the code issue. However, Flash Vote will only push out surveys for us. So what Flash Vote will not allow us to do with our contract is just do like a blast, an info blast.
Okay. But we can do a blast with GoGov.
We can do a blast with GoGov. And, it would be, one of the things, and again, I don't want to get too ahead of the ARPA presentation next month, but one of the things we heard from our citizens was that, it was maybe, they maybe felt that it was a bit of an invasion of privacy for a company to obtain a marketing cell phone list, and then the city to access that list and then send out cell phone blast, a text blast. So this, the nice thing about the GoGov app that's different from that is that GoGov requires people to actually download the app first to be kind of in the loop and get updates pushed out to them. So, GoGov, the nice thing about that as an app kind of suite is that, we could be working with, Don Boyce to do notifications about traffic closures or road work that's being done. PD, if there's a, potentially unsafe situation, we might be able to link notifications into GoGov like that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hartsberg, I had a question about that the last slide that you showed. You mentioned potential uses,
Yes.
cleanups and enhanced wayfinding. Could you just kind of go into detail? Or what is the enhanced wayfinding? What is that?
Yeah, so wayfinding signs are signs that cities use to kind of explain different areas of the city. So, you might have like in a park, like for example, in January Wabash, you might have a sign that says, a mile down the road, you're going to hit our downtown. Please, we have all these businesses there. So go check out our downtown, or go check out another park, or go check out, any kind of landmarks that we have in our city. So it's a way to kind of, you're kind of marketing things, different areas of the city to people who are coming to your city for the first time.
Okay, so just this is how you find your way through our town. Got you.
Exactly, wayfinding. Yeah, you got it.
I got you. And then the cleanups, could you kind of further describe those? I mean, I know that's probably specific, certain type of.
Yeah,
cleanup.
so a lot of cities view their, their community cleanup events as kind of part of their efforts to beautify their city and kind of maintain the property value of the city. So, sometimes you'll see cities use their EDST funding, specifically in Missouri, to buy like the trash bags and the gloves and the trash picker uppers. And then, the city will host some, event where, let's go through down this street and pick up trash. So that's kind of what I was referring to.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Eric, thank you for the presentation. And I would like to ask, can we receive a copy of that just to have?
Absolutely. I apologize that wasn't sent out before. I was adding information up till today.
That's okay. Also, just, again, I'm, learning a lot. So, so you said 1 million annually is received from the fund, and it began in 2016. That's when Ferguson started receiving the money. So is there a breakdown that we can receive of exactly where that money was applied?
Yeah, so I've previously sent the journal entries to all of City Council And what journal entries are for the public and city council who might not have seen those, that's a breakdown by every single transfer that was made for the EDST fund.
Okay, all right. And just one more question. So in the presentation, you stated that the funds can be used for the different items and for the commercial, for not the commercial, the
Retail?
retail, exactly. So the funds cannot be used for any type of residential property.
So
So if
that
you
was
have
a little,
retail, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that one's a little bit at kind of vague. So if we're using it to support residential development in like an economic development way, there might be a way to use those funds.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you. Eric, just want to let the audience know that to look at some of the signs that you're talking about, enhancing signs, Gig Harbor, a lot of that on the East Coast, a lot of it on even like in the state of Washington State, fantastic. I noticed it in Denver as well. So I think that would be something that this city would be interested in. I do want to caution us about the EDST because this is a state statute. And it's not like, we got money in the bank and we can go spend it. Another thing is when Kelly was here, I don't remember her position, we had money set aside for cleanup of the city when it was done by the city. I would venture to say, before we go dipping and dabbing into EDST money, you might want to broaden yourself up on what state statute mean in this economic era. And I think Elliot could be of help with that. And if we, there should be also, am I correct about that, Elliot? Give me a head nod if you can be of help with that.
I'm sorry. I'm not really following the question.
That's all right. It's not a question. I'm just giving some information. Elliot should be the keeper of this information. That's his job. That's part of what he does. So if you have some questions about the EDST, it is state statute run. So you might want to consider anything that you want to. They actually have departments that handle this information. So anything that you don't understand, you might want to take it through Elliot and whoever the finance director is, because it's a twofold situation. Elliot, I think you've done a fantastic job, Eric, on putting this together. Thank you. The information is plentiful on EDST. I've spent over a year and a half looking it up, and there are some things that can be done, but if we would really want to take a good look, we might look at what we have done in the past, and that's the reason why it's so frugal right now for what we've done in the past, or should I say, what we have not done in the past. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, under the special presentation, we have yard signs for city-owned property.
Yeah, so I included a memo in the council packet kind of for city council to go over. This was also something that was brought up in a previous presentation to the council regarding the property restoration program and the adjacent side lot program. And it was also brought up in an FNIP meeting as well. Basically, if there's any way that we could market that some of these properties are available for redevelopment or available for acquisition. And so I had reached out to a couple companies to see how much it would be to get 30, 50 or 70 or 100 signs. So I just kind of threw out a few numbers in terms of seeing different price ranges to see how many signs we could get for the properties that the city owns, or also potentially putting them on some post third properties as well. So we have around 100 lots, so I didn't want to go over that. And in terms of city ownership, so so that's where that cap kind of was. But with that, I did find a company that could do 100 signs for under $400. And I think that this would be something that could potentially get a little bit of marketing for the two programs and potentially get us to have some more development through the programs as well. So it is an option for the city council to look at. And I just wanted to kind of give you that information and see if the council would have any interest in potentially getting these signs and implementing that as well. A little bit of another side note of something that I am doing and next fiscal year, we are going to hopefully put in the budget for a mailing to go out to adjacent owners. Basically, anyone who has a property next to a lot that we own, we're going to send out a mail notification or a letter saying that the adjacent side lot program exists. And if you're interested in the lot next to you, please reach out to the city, and my contact information will be on there and all that. So that is just another way that we're kind of marketing that program. So, and that's pretty much all I have.
Councilwoman Lipka, you have a question?
So I just wanted to say, thank you very much, Bailey. I know this is something that we've talked about even before you came on board years back when we were discussing properties and ways to get attention to them. And then with the property restoration program, it's become even more imperative. And then Councilwoman Noah brought it up also, so I mean, there's more than one councilwoman on here that's thinking this way. What I would encourage though, is I did see your sign in the packet. I would encourage that we utilize this opportunity to reinforce our branding, and that we have the artwork and the artwork of the signs reflect that, and use our logo, use the leaf, use the Ferguson font that we've created. And there's been studies done, and there's been actual proven results of communities that have done this. There's Wetumpka, Alabama, is a community that's very parallel to ours. And they took their branding and they put it on signs, and they said, their signs were very catchy. They said, own a piece of Wetumpka, property for sale, call City Hall. So instead of it being a sterile, flat-based, hey, we're for sale, come buy us. I mean, we should have a sign that has some pizzazz to it, some pride that reflects in our logo, our font, our colors, and our wordage. So I would just say, and it may cost a little bit more to do that, but that's okay, because it shows a community pride that we are really, a lot of our citizens are just really begging for that. They're dying of thirst. They need that community pride so much. So anywhere we can put it, anywhere we can incorporate it, I think we need to take that opportunity and run with it. So I want to encourage your signs, and I want to even make them bigger and better and dazzle the community.
Councilwoman Burrow, Councilwoman Noah, in that order.
Thank you. Thank you, Bailey. This has been a long time coming. Like Lipka said, we talked about this 4 or 5 years ago and used the same cities as in Washington State. What I do want to know is the sign that you have in mind lacking to what MSD is putting out for their clear water? That's my question right now.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that sign, so.
Okay, if you get an opportunity, right at the corner of Frost and Henschel, the MSD Clearwater project, they have signs, and that's the one that is very catchy. If you look at your mail from MSD, and I'm sure you do, one of the biggest bills we got. So they let us know that it was coming. And so when I saw it, it was not like in my face, because we've been getting that information that it was coming for about a year. And so when you're sending out your information And as Lipka said, we should use every effort to do the branding so we don't have people using our brand on different things in different municipalities saying, oh, it was green, but it wasn't blue. And so that people realize when you see this leaf, you're talking Ferguson. So to make ourselves stand out, but I do appreciate the work that you've done on it. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you. I will look into how much it would cost to add that as well. I was just really going for simplicity for cost effectiveness as well. So, but I can get a quote on some more extravagant signs as well. So,
Right, because if we're gonna do it, we might as well do it now.
yeah,
Come,
for sure.
I don't know if you know how to play bid whist, but it's called, there's a section in it that says, come big or stay at home.
Councilwoman Noah.
Yes, I definitely agree with the other council women. I was going to ask, what material will the sign be? And will we advertise in the Ferguson Neighborhood News as well, if we're not already?
Yeah, so the material is also, it's gonna be corrugated plastic. So basically any like basic yard signs you would see. And then they're gonna be a little bit bigger than the census yard signs that we had printed last year. So, or I guess 2 years ago now. Yeah, so they'll be 18 by 24 and they will be double-sided. So that's kind of the specifications that I put in the memo as well, so.
And the neighborhood news, are we?
Oh, yeah, we can definitely put it in there. We did put it in there for the like the initial launch of the programs, but I don't think that we've included it in there since. So I can definitely do a refresher. And we did go out for RFP for the property restoration as well. So it was blasted out for like in our normal news where we put our RFPs for that as well. So it's been out in the news, just not in a while, so I can do it again for sure.
Thank you, Bailey.
Okay, thank you, Bailey. The special presentation is now closed. We are going to move to our consent agenda. The city council meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes for January 11, 2022. Are there any corrections? Hear none, I am requesting a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Frank Griffin, so move.
Adrian Nelson, second.
All in favors? Aye. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're going to move to the boards and commissions. We don't have any meeting minutes, but we do have one appointment, and that is Orlando Sharp. He's been appointed to the St. Louis County MU Extension Council for the University of Missouri Extension Council. That's my appointment, and I'm appointing Orlando Sharp.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I interrupt here during appointments?
I'm finished making an appointment for Orlando Sharp. Yes.
Okay, so I realized it came in after the agenda was created, so I did send you a text message today. And Octavia did send out an email today that informed everybody. There are two applications in the Traffic Commission Dropbox. One is for Patrick Concurran. I'm not going to say, I know I just chopped his name up and I apologize. And Louis Arman. And I would like to present them to the floor tonight to be approved. And the reason I'd like to move quicker on this is because the Traffic Commission has a big part to play in the future of our community. And we have had a situation where we've had two members who have been sick. And so as a result, they're working hard to get well, but we don't have a quorum. And if we could get these two gentlemen approved tonight, that would fill our traffic commission and allow us to have a quorum and allow those people the luxury of getting well. So that is why I ask that we consider these, it's Patrick Concanon, so consider these two tonight so that I can answer the calls of the community with the traffic commission.
Okay, Councilwoman Nord, then Councilwoman Fran Griffin.
So the two applications that you're presenting, that would fulfill the traffic commission. There would be no other vacancies, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, Ward 3 has no representation and I'm working actively on that. So we're waiting to, I've sent the manual and applications to Ward 3 residents and we're speaking with Ward 3 residents. So, you know, we have to have representation. We have to try our best to have the representation from Ward 3 on the traffic board at this time.
So Octavia, is Louis Arman in Ward 3? I know he's moved into a new home recently. Darst is,
I believe the address is provided by both of them. May put them in Ward 2. One was on Adele and the other one was on Darst.
Okay, well, I have to get this filled and I've got these in there. Do we have a specific requirement, Octavia, of wards?
So I don't know that there is a specific requirement for any of the boards, but what is noted is that we are supposed to try and work hard to make sure that there's equal representation on all of our boards.
Well, I would say that I know on F and IP, we have specific representation. I did not notate that. I looked for it. I did not see it on Traffic Commission. So with Traffic Commission, because of the imperative importance of what's going on right now, it was a first come, first serve. So, I mean, as much as I appreciate Councilwoman Noah, your comments, I can assure you that every person that has applied for this and has their application in is wholeheartedly involved in the well-being of the whole community. And that includes Ward 3, obviously. And there is a lot of work to be done in Ward 3. There is application of traffic calming that is being actively discussed with the commission members, with the community members, and with the staff. And a lot of things are coming up, and the ideas that are coming up are very well being implemented in the process of trying to get them out there in Ward 3, Ward 2, and Ward 1 equally. So I would say that without the general specifications, it was the first come, first serve. It's a matter of getting this done. It's a matter of getting it staffed, and it's a matter of getting it done so that we can help the citizens. So I would ask that we just move forward with these two applications.
We have a question from Fran Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just about to say, it was my understanding that we needed to find representation from the 3rd Ward to sit on the traffic board. And I recall a request a while ago that Councilwoman Lipka had made to council suggesting a hold on the appointment until she could get adequate representation for people that lived within her ward. And so I would ask that same
Not for what are you?
Excuse me.
She's speaking.
Well, what are you?
She's speaking. Let her finish, please.
So I would graciously ask that same respect be given in that particular situation, because, you know, we are on the prowl right now. We are looking for people in our community. I myself, as well as Ms. Noah, were aware that we needed to get someone on that traffic commission. And I do believe that it is our responsibility to do so, to make sure that we have representation on that board. So I'm not sure if there was a quorum or if you had enough to make a vote, but I would ask for enough time to be able to, for us who represent the 3rd Ward, to be able to find representation from our community.
So I'm not trying to argue with you, because I would love to have representation from Ward 3. But I will say this, that we've had months that I've requested and asked for your help from you guys. I've asked for you guys to present and, you know, get them out there, get the word out there, get the applications in. In the meanwhile, I've been doing the same. Other members of the council have been doing the same. these applications have come in. This is a commission that is designed to protect the community as a whole. And it doesn't have specifications. And we have had this opportunity out there for months. I've asked for your assistance directly. I told you exactly the urgency that was involved in this, as you well know, because you have situations in your community, your part of the community as well. And so I would say that when we hold this up, because I'm still waiting on council members from Ward 3 to find somebody, you're putting people's lives at danger even more, even longer, because we can't get a quorum until these people get well. So when we have an opportunity to have two active members members of this community who have never been involved in something before, but they feel this strongly enough to step up and be involved in this. And if you look, for the most part, outside of Nick Kassoff and Sheila Walker Powell, every single person that I've gotten on the Traffic Commission and have asked them if they'd like to apply, and they did, are people who spoke up in Facebook, who spoke up in council meetings, who spoke up in letters to us of their fears and concerns. And they represent fears and concerns from all over the community. So I hear you. I wish I could appease you, but I'm asking for your assistance in keeping this community safe and getting this Traffic Commission fully to staff as quickly as possible. And we have two people right now that are willing to do it.
I understand what you're saying. And what I'm telling you is when you put the ask out, that we already have, the Traffic Commission is not the only board or commission that we've been trying to get filled. So you are not the only council person on this board that attempts to try to find people to be in those positions.
And I never said I
can
was.
serve. Now, what I'm saying is we're not stopping process. And although I understand and appreciate that you would not want to argue with me, what I don't appreciate is the gaslighting, because every last one of us on this board has concerns about traffic and safety. So that's pretty much where I'm at this situation. It's up to council what they want to do, but I'm going to leave it there.
Okay,
well, I will.
Councilwoman Burrow, would you had your hand is up.
Yeah, Linda was trying to say something before you gave me the floor. So Linda, you want to finish what you said?
I will say this. Gaslighting is when you impose something on somebody and you make them think that they're supposed to believe something, and then you make them sound stupid otherwise. I'm not doing that at all. I'm very clear with what I'm saying. And the clarity is the opportunity to get people on this commission has been open and available to every council member for months. The request went out directly from me to my fellow councilwomen in Ward 3 because I wanted representation from your wards drastically. Unfortunately, we are at a position now where I have not received them. I have two in front of me that we can get on the board, which will allow the board to start working within their quorum and start getting things done for the safety of the community. And that's what I ask your support in.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Yes. We've been told that there's an urgency with getting the boards and commissions filled for years. There's nothing new up under the sun, and hashing it back and forth won't change it. I will offer a solution, and that would be, because I don't know about, there has to be a certain number from each ward. That I'm not in agreement with. If you get people that will sit in the seat and do the job, because this has been going on for years, for all of you that are not new to the council, this is nothing new. And so when you get somebody that's willing, especially in trafficking and what we have going right now with trafficking and deaths in this city because of trafficking, then I say that's a seat that should be filled. And even if we were to fill the seats, and with the understanding that one of the persons would be a temporary, so that when Ward 3 can get somebody to come on board, that person would say, okay, give it to Ward 3. That's a solution, folks. And I think we need to get these positions filled so we can get to work. I'm gonna tell you what I don't think. I don't think county is gonna come in here and do nothing for us. I don't care who talks about a silver lining. We're gonna have to do it for ourselves. And it starts right here. You know, that's one of those presidents said, the buck stops here. We ought to stop the buck right here and get these positions filled. I think it's a viable solution. I don't know if anybody else is willing to do that, but I think in order to get it filled and get some traction, and maybe whichever person that is from Ward 2, if I have any influence over those people that are in my ward, I would ask that one of them would say yes to a temporary position. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Councilwoman No.
We're currently on the Traffic Commission, Time to Heal. So again, we'll be checking with those people who are interested in Traffic Commission who live in Ward 3, Linda. Thank you.
So let me ask.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Yeah, I just had a real quick question. So I just want to make sure I understand. So the way it is being a new council person, my understanding is from what I'm hearing is that we're not going to have representation from all 3 wards for my residents on none of the boards and commissions. It can all come from one ward.
No. My understanding, just to answer your question, but Octavia is the expert. Some boards and commissions require representation from each ward. Most do, but traffic for some reason did not. And so my intent was to just get traffic with citizens in there. And I didn't actually even pay attention to what ward they were in. I went to citizens who showed a loud voice of concern about the traffic problems. And I went to people who were willing to fight for this community in regards to doing the homework, the research, and the communication with county in the process of trying to get things done in Ferguson. That's who I went after. I didn't look to see, okay, are you in Ward 1? Are you in Ward 2? I went to the people who showed a concerned, active interest in the safety of this community. And this is one of the few commissions that's actually able to do.
And so we don't feel that there's any concern from residents of Ward 3 regarding traffic?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that at all. There's tons of concern. Unfortunately, they didn't voice it to the point that they want to be on this commission. And the people who do want to be on this commission, I have 2 applications before us tonight that will finalize the commission. They have 3-year terms and they'll be able to get things done, which may hopefully create interest and desire from Ward 3 members at that point when they see the work being done by this commission. But this isn't a fact of me insinuating that nobody cares in Ward 3. We just don't have them. And we've had the opportunity to find them and we haven't. And we have people that do show interest and they care about all the wards. They care about all the roads and all of the community.
Okay.
Councilwoman Griffin, and then I'll speak. Go ahead.
I was just, I understand we have vision from each ward and I'm a little concerned at this and thinking at this point, maybe we do need to specify that in all of our boards and commissions so we don't have a situation like this moving forward, because I thought it would be the thought process that every ward would have representation.
That's correct.
The ask was put out. I can speak for myself as well as Ms. Noah when I say that we are both in the process. We've already reached out to multiple people. And so at this point, what we're asking for is just to hold off for a while. We'll make sure we have representation. We will make sure that we have representation because trust and believe there are people in our community that care and have an interest. And maybe it's that maybe you just don't have the relationship with them yet. Maybe it's my hope that once we do find someone, you can build the relationship and we can all do this work together. But I am asking for representation. So I want to make a motion that we postpone until the next council meeting, and we will have applications from residents in Ward 3 that want to participate and actively engage in the Traffic Commission.
And I will also say, Fran, that your request to make sure that this is something that goes across the board for all commissions is an excellent addition to the SOP that we need to have. Because the fact that that is not on the Traffic Commission does not make me a bad guy, does not make me a person or the members of the commission any less aware and concerned for the problems because they don't live in the right ward.
It's
So-
the mindset that concerns me, Linda. That's
Well,
all. It's
you
okay.
know,
I got a
just-
question.
Just a
I got
point of
question.
order, just a point of order, just a point of order.
I got a
On
question.
on all of the commissions, I'm looking at the packet of it, and at the bottom of it, it denotes W1, W2, and W3. It has always been that each ward would be equally represented. As far as the Traffic Commission, for Ward 1, you have 2, and for Ward 3, for Ward 2, you have 3. That is 5, and you only take 4 to make a quorum. So Councilwoman Griffin has a motion on the floor.
That was my question before we go with that. Did Lipka was it a question about could somebody vote, or were you putting out a motion, Linda?
It was a request to have discussion so that I could create a motion.
So if you look at it that way, Ella, we might have to stop for a moment and understand where we are. You talk about a point of clarity here, point of order, because I thought that was what Linda was doing, trying to make a motion and doing the conversation. So I think we need a point of order here, and that we could go back to Pittman, since that's her job as the point of order. Jesus.
Clerk Pittman, has it always been a practice that each ward be represented in the different boards and commission? Because on the master sheet that I have, it always denote Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 3.
So what you are referring to is the sheet that shows the representation from whichever ward on whichever commission. There are some commissions that require that in the ordinance that enacted that board that require certain positions. Like for instance, is the Civilian Review Board. It sets out how many people are required to be from each board. From each ward, so many from at large. I think boards like the farmers market requires people to be from a certain area and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. And boards like the technology review require you to have certain skills in order to be on there. But there is no ordinance that says that we are required to have, in general, that we are required to have equal representation. Just since I've been here, what I've heard is that was the goal, to diversify the boards to have equal representation. And some of our boards right now do, and some of them do not. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so let's,
Mayor, may I make?
at this time, Fran, since you have a motion on the floor,
I have a comment. I have a comment before we go to the motion. And I just want to
And
clarify.
also, excuse me, the reason why, Mary Jones, that I asked Pittman to come on and give the information, because you brought up a point of order. And so let's talk about the point of order. The point of order is that, and I don't care what you do, honestly, I don't. Linda was doing an explanation to set forth a motion. Now, because it got out of order from your seat, Mayor, then we need to back up, because what you're doing now is you're putting, and we can talk to Pittman about this, you're putting, or the attorney, you're putting another council member ahead of a council member that started out with an explanation for her actual motion. Am I correct about that, Linda?
Yes.
Okay, so the
So
point,
Fran
so the
put a
point of order-
motion on the floor. It has to be second and then to the discussion.
but I don't think you're getting it because Linda was talking and it all started out with her talking. You never did give her the opportunity. That's your point of order.
Point of
That's
order.
order.
I've got a point of order.
The point of order is Fran put the motion on the floor. It never got to the second, and we went to a discussion before we get to the second.
No,
She put the motion on the floor.
I started the conversation. I answered questions. I was not given the opportunity to finalize with my motion before Fran said something. So I had the floor, I had the conversation, I started the conversation, I was answering the questions, and I have the opportunity and the right to make my motion prior to Fran's.
Okay, then Fran, you have your motion either dies on the floor or you withdraw it and we go back to Linda and do her request for her motion.
With all due respect, Mayor, if I may, Councilwoman Linda was discussing a concern that she had. She never once even mentioned the word or the intention that she wanted to make a motion. We were in discussion, excuse me, we were in discussion and I actually had the floor and then I put the motion out.
I disagree with you.
Fran, you are correct.
No, I started the conversation
before the motion was come. Usually you make a motion, you second, and you discuss.
I made a request that we approve these two applications. And I was making the request. And at that time, I was then asked, then the conversation started with input from my fellow councilwomen. And the request was still out there. I had not had the opportunity to word it as a motion. It was a request for approval. And I was going to move into the next step, which was the motion. But in the moment that Fran had the floor asking the questions, used the opportunity to put a motion out there. I had the request, I made the request, it's in the minutes. I made a request that I would like to finish as my motion.
Thank you for clarifying that you made no motion, Councilwoman Lipka.
I also clarified that I made a request that was open to move toward the motion.
Fran is correct. She made a motion. We went to a discussion. We still waiting on a second.
I'll second.
Adrian Nelson, second.
Now we are open for discussion.
So all I will say in discussion, ladies, is that when you go into our current boards and commissions manual and you pull up the traffic commission page, it says in here, the purpose is to act in a general advisory capacity to the city council and manager on traffic and parking issues. Membership, 7 residents appointed by the council to staggered 3-year terms. Members must be residents of Ferguson and hold no other city office. That's all it says. It doesn't have any designation. There's no blame or anger to be put out there. This is what it says. This is what we have adopted as a council. All of us on this diocese adopted this as a council.
With the spirit of cooperation, people usually select X amount from Ward 1, X amount for Ward 2, and X amount for Ward 3, in the spirit of cooperation.
And in the spirit of urgency and saving lives, when we have a commission that has a direct finger on the pulse of how we're going to save these lives, it is imperative to fill that commission quickly. And I asked for assistance from my fellow council members. I asked for applications submitted, and I have 2 more that we can do now. And I know you guys are going to vote against me. So, I mean, I get it, but I just want it clearly stated that I have nothing against Ward 3. Nobody does. The only thing we're trying to do is fill a commission so we can get some work done, so we can save some lives. And the fact that my fellow councilwomen weren't able to get applications to me quick enough, and I happen to have 2 in front of you, I'm sorry, but I didn't do anything wrong because it states in our own traffic commission that it's a matter of citizenship in the Ferguson area, not the wards. So I apologize for hurting your feelings. I apologize for not having the opportunity to have people from every ward, but I won't apologize for the fact that I'm trying to help all of our wards by getting a fully staffed commission that has the pulse on the opportunity of saving lives in everybody's ward. So in any other situation where it's a designation of requirement, I would be more than happy to make sure. But in this one, I was following the same rules. I followed the rules when it's a designation. I was following the rules when I didn't have to have a designation.
Councilwoman Robinette, we still in discussion. There has been a motion and a second, and we still in discussion.
So to add to the discussion, Mayor Jones, you said that, in the spirit of collaboration or in the spirit, there should be representation from each of the wards. And unfortunately, that is very hard to do. And if we impose that on each of the boards and commissions, I think we're going to find that we aren't likely to get a quorum for most of the boards and commissions. We have a hard time right now simply filling the boards and commissions. And some are easier to fill than others, and we know this, but I really want to caution, I hear Fran and I hear Naquita say that they want to talk to their folks, that their community who wants to be a part of it. That's great. I just want to caution everybody that opening it up across the boards and commissions might lead to boards and commissions that are never able to meet or go forward. That's my part of the discussion. Thank you.
Councilwoman Fran Griffin.
Actually, I appreciate Councilwoman Robinette's comment because she is absolutely right. There are some boards and commissions with specified, such as just like Ms. Pittman stated, have to have specific specialties and interest. My only point is that there are people in our community that are interested as well. And we'd like the opportunity to do our part and make sure that there's adequate representation from our ward. And so with that, I'd like to make the motion that we postpone the decision until the next city council meeting.
You already made the motion and it has been seconded, and we are in discussion.
Okay.
The only thing we could call for right now is the vote.
I do have a question before we go to the vote. If for some reason there are not applications turned in from Ward 3 by the next council meeting, will this council have issue with the fact that I still have 2 sitting in the Dropbox waiting to be approved?
So just so you know, Ms. Lipka, Councilwoman
Yes or no?
Lipka, let me finish.
Yes
Don't
or no?
interrupt me. You asked a question and I'm going
I
to
asked a
answer
yes or
you
no
the way
question.
in which
Will
I
you?
choose to answer. Please don't be disrespectful. That's
I'm
not
not being
kind.
disrespectful. I'm being a lawyer. Yes
Point
or no?
of
Courteous
order,
to
both
you.
of you two cannot talk at the same time.
Right. To answer your question, Councilwoman Lipka, I was going to explain to you that both Ms. Naquita Noah and as well as myself have talked to more than one person who would like to sit on the traffic commission. That's all I was going to tell you. Thank you.
No, I get that. You made that clear on the other comments.
Thank you.
I still have a question on the floor for you. If for any reason we don't get those applications in by the next council meeting, and I still have these 2 applications in the Dropbox ready to go, will there be an issue with me asking for them to be approved?
Councilwoman Lipka, what I'm explaining to you is that we will have someone from Ward 3 who has an application. You will have adequate representation. So at this point, what you're asking isn't even part of my motion. I appreciate your concerns.
Well, I can't wait for your applications because I want to get this thing filled up so we can save some lives. And now I got to wait.
You do have a quorum. You have 5.
No, we've had, no, Miss Mayor.
Quorum is 4.
No, Miss Mayor, we've had 2 people out of 5 who have been out sick. That means there's no quorum.
Councilwoman Borough, and then we'll call for the vote.
Thank you. I do want to let you know, Council, to Lipka's question that she had, who makes that decision? Because that's a viable question. And so now we're sitting here with no answer to her question. It's a viable question. I caution this council on how we're doing business for this city. I will tell you that what we have done here tonight, we have set a precedence that can come back to harm this city. When you've got things in place and you want to make a change, you shouldn't do it just so that you can be right. We do things because it's the right thing to do. So that's what we should be doing. And so tonight is a prime example of a council that sits on a diocese together, but is not together. Who could have seen this coming when all we're trying to do, and I'll use Lipka's words, is save lives? I made what I thought a viable suggestion. And even with that, no agreement, a temporary, somebody sitting as a sub. But no, we gotta wait. We say, and I believe Fran, when she said that they've been looking diligently, it's hard to fill these positions. And they've been looking and they haven't gotten anybody. They've been talking to somebody. Well, you know what? When they show up, then they would have that seat. But nobody's listening to 25, 30 minutes ago, there was a solution. And we were too busy opposing one another to come to a viable solution. That's my comment.
Are you ready to vote? The discussion has ended. Are you ready to vote? At this time, Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll as to wait until the next council meeting to fill the seats?
Yes, Councilwoman Noah,
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Borough,
Nay.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Nay.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Nay.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Aye.
What is the vote count, please?
it's 4-3, Mayor, 4 affirmative and 3 no.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a resolution. We have resolution number 2022-03. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. Hearing no objections, Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2022-03. A resolution supporting the city of Ferguson, authorizing the mayor/city manager to execute the necessary documents for forwarding the project proposal application and later execute an agreement to later execute an agreement for the Atmore Elkins Woodwinds project, federally funded through the 2023 through 2026 Surface Transportation Program.
Mayor, you skipped over the liquor request.
That has been withdrawn.
Okay, that would be nice to know.
City manager, could you please explain?
Yes, so this is a standard a resolution we bring before you in order for us to submit the grant application documents for the STP. Dawn is here to give additional information. Dawn?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's for the STP program. The area was rezoned prior years. Elkin, Atmore, and Woodwind did not qualify for the STP program. Now that with the new rezoning that occurred, it does qualify. And so we'd like to move forward with the permission to apply for the grant and resurface, repave those streets.
Is there a motion and a second for approval?
Adrian Nelson, so moved.
Laquita Noah second.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
I abstain. I wasn't listening.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah.
Aye.
What is your vote count?
I have 6 affirmative and 1 abstention.
Mayor, is this I'm sorry, I apologize. I got called away for a quick second on something very important personally. Is this the regards to the project for Atmore, Elkins, and Woodwinds?
That's what the attorney read resolution for.
So that's a yes. Okay. Then I would like to put a vote in for aye because this is something that I did do my research on. So yes, on this one, I do want to make sure I get a vote of aye in there.
Councilwoman Lipka has changed her vote. Could you please make a note of it, Clerk Pittman?
I have
What is the vote count now?
7 yes.
Resolution number 2022-03 passes. We don't have any bills requiring first reading nor second reading. Do we have any unfinished business? Hear none. Do we have any new business?
Yes, Mayor, I do have some new business.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a few questions about the upcoming election. So I have some questions for Octavia and Apollo and Eric. Octavia, it's the city clerk's responsibility to have each candidate fill out a notice to candidate at the time of filing, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. And every candidate for this upcoming election did do that. We all signed it, initialed it. We did that, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Along with the signature on the form, along with your signature on that form next to the candidate's signature. Am I still correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So can you tell the people listening what that form states, its dates and its consequences?
I don't actually have that form in front of me.
Okay, not a problem. I have mine in front of me. So the notice of candidate is a notice to the candidate about personal financial disclosure. And each candidate has to put their name on there. The political subdivision is the city of Ferguson. They have to put the office that they're seeking, the ward that they're going to run for election on, and the date of the election, which is April 5th. And then you have option A, candidate does not have to file PFD. Option B, candidate must file a PFD, which all candidates have to file a PFD. So we have the political subdivision as an annual operating budget over 1 million, which that is selection 1 under section 1, which is what we fill out for Ferguson because of our ordinance, which is ordinance 2020-3681. And then under section 2, it says candidates required to file must be informed of the following deadlines and penalties. 1, if PFD financial interest statement is not filed by January 11th, 14 days after filing closing, which was December 28th, then the penalty assessed to the candidate is a minimum of $10 per day late fee for each day the report is late. And then number 2 says if PFD financial interest statement is not filed by January 18th, 21 days after the filing closing date, the penalty is that the candidate will be disqualified as a candidate and his or her name will be removed from the ballot. And then below that, we have part 3, which says candidate puts their name in there, hereby acknowledge that I have received, and you have to initial notice to candidate, written notice of candidate's obligation to file a PFD, financial interest statement, including the consequences for the failure to file. And then the second thing we have to initial is guide to ethics laws and plain English summary regarding laws governing candidates for election to office in Missouri. And I hereby acknowledge the authority of the Missouri Ethics Commission or the political subdivision for which I'm in filing in to enforce these said laws. And then we sign it, Octavia signs it, and it's dated. So as you stated, Octavia, everybody who is running for election for April 5th did sign this paper with you. Correct? I'm still on the right page?
Oh, yes, you're correct.
Okay, so to your knowledge, has every candidate filed their personal finance disclosure form on time?
I learned that one individual has not.
Okay, so so we have an individual that has not filed. Were they 14 days late, 21 days late? What?
I don't know. I had to go back and do the calculation to find out what the date is.
So, well, they're supposed to turn it into the MEC, which then the MEC gets the information to you, correct?
To some degree.
Okay, so clarify to some degree for me.
Well, you said that they get that information to me. No, the Missouri Ethics Commission does not get information to me.
Okay, so, but the candidate, myself, I had to file my PFD to the Missouri Ethics, and then I had to make sure they let you know, or I let you know that I had done that.
That is correct.
Okay, so the same would be said for this person. And when I spoke with MEC this morning, they still had not received this person's personal financial disclosure. So as of January 25th, which is quite a bit after January 18th, which is the cutoff to be on the ballot, they have not received it and you have not received it, correct?
I haven't received it.
Okay, so Apollo, I got a question for you now. So we have an ordinance 2020. Thank you very much, Octavia. Ordinance 2020-3681, bill number 7190, that exempts the city of Ferguson from Missouri Ethics Commission being the governing body for the situation of conflict of interest, including the issues of providing personal financial disclosure, correct?
I don't know. I'm not reading. I don't have in front of me whatever you're looking at, but I take what you say at face value.
Okay, so basically what I've learned is that typically the Missouri Ethics Commission handles these issues for communities such as Hazelwood, Florissant, all the communities. But a community that has over $1 million budget, $1 million budget, can take their own subdivision, can take their own process in-house with an ordinance that is submitted to the Missouri Ethics every 2 years, correct?
Well,
That's two.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
That is my understanding.
And we have done that. So that's what I'm referring to, the ordinance that we have done that. So, but the thing that I'm confused about is the fact that in the very first line of the ordinance, the very first whereas, it states that whereas section 105.485 RSMO states each official, officer, or employee or candidate of any political subdivision described in subdivision 11 of section 105.483 shall be required to file a financial interest statement and required by subsection 2 of this section unless the political subdivision biannually adopts the ordinance, order, or resolution in open meeting by September 15th, which we do. So then it goes on to state that that's what we do. So now therefore it be ordained by the council of the city of Ferguson. And then section 1 says the city council hereby adopts the following provisions as the city's method of disclosing potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest in order to satisfy the requirements of section 105.485 RSMO. So when we do that, and we say that we're going to reflect RSMO and you go to RSMO and you read that, and it goes through RSMO to 105.483 through to 105.492. And 0.492 specifically clarifies and lays out the penalties. And the penalties being the financial penalty or the removal from the ballot. Now, all of that being said, we as a city have taken on the opportunity to police ourselves in this regard. And we say we're going to police ourselves using shadowing the same laws of the Missouri government, because we have to some extent. We have to follow the law. But what we didn't plan on was enforcing it. So to the ordinance, we have nothing in the ordinance that states who's going to enforce that. And when you assume that it's going to be our city, which is what I assumed, because my argument would be, if it's an ordinance is supposed to be enforced by the city manager and the forces at hand that are the entities that are designed to enforce the different ordinances that we create. But what have learned is that when in our charter, we have a different thing going on. So basically, we know, Apollo, correct me if I'm wrong, we know that we have not received a personal financial disclosure from this person, correct?
That we know that, well, it's been told that it hasn't been filed. I don't know, Octavia, I don't know if Octavia even cleared the question as to whether or not, when it is actually filed, do they let us know that it's filed, or do they tell us that it's not filed? Because it's not filed with the city, it's filed with the MEC, right? So is that something that we would typically know for everybody? Octavia, I'm at.
I know, I was trying to unmute. So no, they don't actually tell us if they have filed or have not filed. But the city clerk should receive a copy of it. And then there is a way to actually go out there and check to see if they have it on file.
I see, okay.
So from what I understand from the MEC is that, like Octavia just said, there is a way to go out there and see. Every city clerk has the opportunity to go out there and see. They have their own password to go out there and see. And what Octavia had stated is that she has not received that from this particular candidate. Correct, Octavia?
That's correct.
Okay. So we know that we haven't received it. We know that there are penalties. It's listed in the notice. We know that he has signed the notice, as all of us as candidates have. And we know that we are shadowing the RSMO codes that reflect this situation through our own ordinance, but yet we have him on the ballot. So the question is, why is he on the ballot? And then, and the thing about it is, who enforces that? Well, when you start to look at it, my conversation with Apollo today is that we don't have anyone who enforces those rules. The ordinance doesn't state who enforces this. So now I have to argue, like I said earlier, that I would assume, and I would argue, that an ordinance is enforceable by the city manager or the city attorney or the entity tasked to enforce a particular ordinance. This I would argue, should be enforced by our city manager and our city attorney. But they will argue that the charter, section 5.3, which is the administrative officers not to engage in political activity, prohibits this ability to enforce.
Did you mean city clerk?
What did I say?
Said enforced by the city attorney. I don't enforce things.
Okay, well, I don't know if I apologize if I did.
That's okay.
But I thank you for the clarification. But
No
I mean,
worries.
so, in our charter, so an ordinance doesn't trump the charter. An ordinance is built to enhance the charter. So here we have a charter, 5.3, that says our administrative officers cannot interrupt a political activity at all. I get that. Makes total sense. And then we have an ordinance that says we're going to do what the MEC does for other communities, and we're going to police ourselves, and we're going to follow these same penalties, but we don't have anybody to enforce it. And we can't ask our city manager to enforce it or our city clerk because we have a charter 5.3 that says they can't. So ladies, what I'm saying to all of you is you you know, we were talking about good faith earlier. Every single person that sits on this diocese signed this paperwork, and you all did it in good faith. You all did it with the intention of following through on that signature that you put your name on, saying that you would get your personal financial disclosure in on time. Because if you didn't, that was your name. And then you ran your political campaign accordingly. We don't all agree with each other, but I respect each and every one of you, because it's an assumption that we all are following the rules. And it's an assumption that we have to have. We have to have it. Every single one of you have worked your butts off on your campaigns, and you followed the rules. Every council member prior to us followed these same rules. But now we have somebody who doesn't have to. That should really upset each and every one of you personally. Learn, council, sorry, to learn how to do this, to answer your community, to put your heart in this. The fact that somebody doesn't have to do what you did should bother you. It bothers me. And it doesn't bother me just because he's in my ward. It bothers me because I represent my ward with passion, with commitment, and I expect whoever wants to take the seat to do the same with integrity and honesty and following the rules that we've all followed up to here. So what I'm laying at your feet, council, and if I need to make a motion so I don't get caught up in this again, I make a motion that we consider taking away, discarding ordinance 2020-3681 and giving this policing effort and this policing activity back to the Missouri Ethics Commission so that we can protect our community, so that we can protect our citizens, so that we can protect our city clerk and our city manager and our city attorney, and not put them in a position that they are in this moment. Not put them in that. It's not fair. That's why we have the charter clause. So we can't have both. We can't have the charter clause and the ordinance, because we are not fulfilling the integrity of the election process and the people, the candidates, and the people who are on this board. So let me find my place for just a moment. So I ask that we as a city are supposed to be living by the definition of transparency. We have a consent decree. We are the definition of transparency to the nation in policing, in our courts, and in our politics. So I ask that we take this ordinance out, that we give this process back to the Missouri Ethics Commission. And I don't know what we can do currently in this situation, but I would like everyone to be aware that this is happening. And if we set this as a precedent, this is a deadly precedent that will just lead to people calling us corrupt. And I don't want to be called that because I'm not. So I'm done. Thank you. My motion's on the floor. Do I have a second?
Apollo has his hand up.
Yes, he does. Apollo.
Do I have the floor? Okay. Just a quick point of order. If the motion is to repeal an ordinance, you have to do that with another ordinance. It can't be done via motion. So.
Thank you. Can I rephrase my motion then, Mayor?
Yes, you can.
So I would like to retract the ordinance I put on the floor, or the motion I put on the floor. And I would like to make a motion that we start the creation of an ordinance that detracts, how do you word it, Apollo, that dissolves the current
Repeal.
ordinance 2020-3681.
Repeal.
Thank you.
You got it.
It has been properly moved in second. Octavia, would you please call the roll?
Just really quick, I think I had some lost connectivity. I have the motion, but who was the second?
J. Tony Burrow.
Okay.
Mayor, is there any discussion?
Clarity, I don't know what the motion. Well, I actually, from what I understood, Apollo just saying, he mentioned that we could not retract the motion.
So what
without
he's
having an existing ordinance. I'm kind of confused as to what, I want to understand what the motion is, but I want to understand what Apollo said before I just vote on something.
What I'm saying is you need an ordinance to repeal an ordinance. So you don't, the motion piece of it is legally unnecessary. I mean, because anybody can put forth an ordinance, right? So, I mean, you don't, in order to actually repeal an existing ordinance, another ordinance has to be passed repealing that ordinance. That's what I am saying.
Well,
Okay.
is there an ordinance out there that's ready to go if we, you know what I mean?
That's why I just wanted to clarify that part, because I heard Councilwoman Lipka's motion, but I heard what Mr. Carey said too.
So my motion, what I was trying to say is I would like to make a motion that we start the process of creating an ordinance that repeals ordinance number 2020-3681. And I'll be honest with you, Fran, I'm making this motion because I've never wrote an ordinance before. I don't know how. So I would just like it on the floor and in public and on record that I'm making a motion to start this process.
Start the process of appealing or amending, because I haven't read the ordinance myself. So I don't want to vote on something to appeal it when I have not read the actual ordinance.
So you should have read the ordinance because it was given to you in your candidate packet. So it's there in your candidate packet. It's with everything you signed and everything you agreed to.
Councilwoman Lipka, I don't have that at hand, and what you want me to do,
Okay.
what you're asking us to vote is to appeal an ordinance that
No, that's not what I'm saying, Fran.
to
Please
create
hear
an
me.
ordinance to
Please-
appeal.
Please
is what
hear
I'm
me.
saying.
Please let me finish and I'll tell you. I am making a motion to start the process of creating an ordinance that will repeal the current ordinance 2020-3681. And the reason I say it this way is because I do not know how to write an ordinance, but I want it on record and in a vote that we are going to, as a united body, repeal this ordinance so that we can give this back to the Missouri Ethics Commission and let them be in control of situations like this so that we do not put our city staff in a precarious position and that we actually have some recourse when somebody isn't following the rules that each and every one of us have to follow.
I absolutely hear that. What I'm saying, I don't have the ordinance to say that I want to create an ordinance that I want to repeal it, because I do not have that in front of me. And that's what you're asking us to vote on.
So all I'm saying is if you vote to create an ordinance and we create it and you don't like it, then you can vote against it at that time.
Councilwoman Griffin, are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, Councilwoman Robinette.
So, I mean, this is largely ceremonial. I mean, there's nothing that's going to come from a vote of this. It's just to state that we're going to start the process of an ordinance to repeal an ordinance that's in conflict with the charter. So the vote would actually be when the ordinance is read and we all vote on it. So Councilwoman Griffin, it's, you don't have to necessarily read it and understand. You're not taking anything off the table for this vote. This is just to be recorded that that's the intent.
Attorney Apollo, your hand is up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was from the last time. I apologize. I just didn't put it down.
And so this has been this way in the charter for ever, right?
I don't know. I
And
know
we're-
we've voted on it it's a biannual thing. And I know since I've been on council, we've done it, but this situation's never come up before. And now that it's come up.
Never, ever, ever has this come up. Never.
Nope. And now that it has, we have no recourse because we have a charter that states that we can't put our city staff in this position. So the ordinance, if you take the ordinance out of our city and you give this policing effort back to the Missouri Ethics Commission, which they do for 90% of the communities in the state of Missouri, give it back to them, let them do it. They will handle all of this. The fact that, Phaedra, when you filled out your private financial disclosure form, you submitted it to Missouri Ethics. I mean, they're already in the loop.
Well, isn't that what this ordinance in place kind of does? No?
No, but
Okay.
like Heather said, this is to get the thing moving. This isn't making a decision on the ordinance tonight. So you have plenty of time to read it. And Fran, I would be happy to talk to you about it because, this is important to you too. You're on the ballot as well.
I get that. The wording appeal versus revise is just not, without me looking at it, I'm not.
I'm questioning that myself.
Yeah,
It's
that part.
repeal. It's repeal, not appeal.
Yeah, repeal. That part is what's
This
concerning.
is simply a motion, Fran, and this is where I ask for your support because I'm only putting this on the floor because this is supporting each and every one of us on this diocese. This is supporting and honoring every person who's run for office before, and this is supporting and honoring everybody that wants to run for office in the future for the right reasons. And that is that we put a motion on the floor simply stating that we will start the process of repealing this ordinance. And that process means creating a new ordinance. And that process means having discussion, Fran, on that new ordinance, how it's created, how it's worded, what it's going to do. I'm just asking everybody to support this motion that we're going to start the process.
You say
Well,
revise.
that would be something the Charter Commission could look at when they.
I want it tonight as a motion that we're going to create an ordinance that repeals this ordinance. Because the charter is already stated clearly. The Charter Commission or the Charter Review Group doesn't even have to worry about that. It's the ordinance.
So your motion is to start the process in order to repeal this ordinance. Is that not correct?
So we're going to revoke this ordinance is what we're saying.
Yes.
We're going to revoke it, right?
We're going to start the process, creating an ordinance.
Process to create
an ordinance.
Repeal.
Well, that's why I'm thinking, wouldn't it be amend versus repeal? If we're going to be going through it line item.
Would mean that there's something to save. I don't want to save any of it. I want all of it to go away so that this particular responsibility is no longer on our city clerk. It is no longer on our city manager. It is no longer on our city staff whatsoever to have the situation come to play like it is now. Who enforces this? Who should be doing it? Who's letting this happen? Who's letting somebody get away with it? Who's going to stop it? Why do we put our city staff in that position when they don't have to be? It's simple. Snap your fingers, give it to MEC, done. Just read the ordinance, but I ask for your support tonight because as I said, this is to protect all of you and all of us. And if in the process of creation, you don't like it, vote against it then. But right now I ask for your support.
Councilwoman Lipka has put a motion on the floor to start the process to repeal this ordinance. Is that what you have, Clerk Pittman?
Yes, the motion that I have is to start the process to create an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 2020-3681.
Okay. And it has been second, is that not correct?
That's correct.
So are you all ready to vote? Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah,
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Aye.
What is the vote count, please?
It's unanimous. Yes.
Okay, the motion passes to start the process in creating And for the record, I would like to state that the liquor license for Deja Vu 2 will not come before the council tonight. Okay, we're going to move to our miscellaneous section. At this time, we'll hear from Councilwoman Noah.
Okay, everyone. Ferguson family, we had the opportunity to attend the National Management Incident System Training on the 20th at the Ferguson Community Center. Councilwoman Nelson was there and the Ferguson Police Department Consent Decree Coordinator, Nicole Barton. I found the training to be very informative. It was led by Erica. She's a former Ferguson firefighter. It brought a better understanding of a plan of management for disasters, which is very important because we just never know, what tomorrow may bring. Uniformity and collaboration between the police and fire departments, aligned with the mayor and council, are crucial to a productive government organization, especially in the real time of an incident such as a tornado or civil unrest, or a power outage, or during, dangerous temperatures like we're experiencing now. We have to be prepared, no stopping to prepare, preparedness, the state of being ready. Other things that I took from the training, things to consider: what does a community reliance team look like? How long will a complex incident last? How long will we need to be self-sufficient? How will we know that the incident is over? Moving forward, I would definitely support preparedness and tabletop exercises as a government body. That exercise, it brought to mind the efficient training and immediate real-time responsiveness of the Ferguson Fire Department on Saturday, January 15th. Lives were saved, and we graciously thank the firemen for their service. To quote our city manager, Eric Osterberg, the quick and decisive actions of Captain Aaron Bockhorst, I believe I'm pronouncing the name correctly, and firefighter Chad Mazzara undoubtedly saved Ferguson lives on that day. They did not hesitate to place themselves in harm's way, not once but twice, in order to protect the citizens. That fire was on Ruggles in Ward 3, and again, we appreciate their service. We appreciate them serving our residents. And lastly, on January 21st, I was able to tune in with the Ferguson Community Advisory Council. The mayor was there as well. It's led by Mercy Clinic, which is also located in Ward 3 in Ferguson on West Florissant. There was a very informative collective conversation. And just so you all know, they reported that the volume has remained steady throughout the holidays at the clinic. I also learned that Ferguson Mercy Clinic has encountered 895 patients and screened 554. Again, the social needs or mortgage, financial, people are in need of durable medical equipment and prescription assistance. The meeting, again, I got to meet, a lot of people who are involved in our community, not just here in Ferguson, but throughout North County. So that's all I have to report. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councilwoman Noah. Councilwoman Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say how much I truly appreciate those of you in the community who were able to attend the participatory budgeting for the ARPA funding. I definitely think that what we created was a space where community can actually have, their concerns funded to be able to address some of the community concerns. So I love the fact that we had multiple meetings. I look forward to actually reevaluating the process we went through and finding ways that we can increase access to even more residents throughout our community as we go through this process, even including the upcoming budget. I wanted to remind everyone that Proud is having their discussion on the critical race theory tomorrow at 6 p.m. You all can go to their Facebook page and find the link and the meeting ID information and things of that nature. I did enjoy both presentations, both the fleet management presentation as well as the software presentation. I really like the software presentation. It sounds like it's going to be a very useful tool for not just staff, but community as well. And the fact that it also works with the existing programs that we have is a plus as well. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation with council as to how we decide to move forward. And then I definitely want to put in my hat into the ring for the ride along with Gene or in code enforcement. I definitely would love to take a ride along and have that opportunity to just discuss different issues that we have in the community as well. And then lastly, I wanted to report that I was able to listen in to the status hearing and provide a written statement in regards to that. I do feel like we definitely need to have more engagement, not just as council, but as far as like the monitor coming to visit us. I know that's a meeting that we were just informed. There's going to be a virtual town hall that the monitors team is putting on February 3rd at 6 p.m. Did I say that right, you all? At 6 p.m. Which we'll also be sharing as well, so that we can hear from the monitor and actually, bring concerns or as well to the monitor and see what needs to be done next. But other than that, I just want us to really try to work together. We put a wholehearted effort into working with each other. I mean, we don't always agree. But one thing I do agree with Ms. Tony on is that, respect has to be maintained at all times. I myself am a woman just like the rest of the people that are sitting on this council, and we all want respect and conversation. And we went through the whole training and the talk about, good intentions and us working together. So regardless of what anybody thinks, that's my whole goal in this process, as well as to stand on my principles and morals. And so that's just where I'm at. I appreciate everybody for attending. Thank you. And thank you as well to the firefighters. Thank you most definitely to the firefighters. They put their life on the line all the time.
Thank you, Councilwoman Griffin. Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. A couple of things. I really do appreciate first responders, and that's from anywhere. But I do especially appreciate the first responders in this town. I've been working with these people for a long time. They were so kind to me when my mother had Alzheimer's. The fire department and the police department would pick her up when she would leave home and bring her back, and they take her for a ride. These are the kind of people that we deal with over here at Ferguson. And real quick story, one day I told the police, he said, I got your mom in the car. I said, no, my mom's in here. He said, no, I know her when I see her. I took her for a ride. Anyway, long story short, I go down to the car and there's my mother was. And I said, Mom, how'd you get out the house? She said, oh, she whipped out a screwdriver out of her pocket. She unscrewed the door. So these first responders that we have, I've had a lot of people to have to deal with COVID emergency situations. And the beautiful thing about it is I can call our fire department and get service. I can call our police department and get service. When I've had a person who had a kidney transplant and we didn't know if she had COVID or not, she was getting sick, I called Chief Hampton because I couldn't get through at BJC, couldn't get through at University Hospital, couldn't get through at Mercy. And I called Chief Hampton, and that's how we got her into a safe zone at the hospital. So there are a lot of things that happen with our first responders that I don't think the citizens understand, that for real, we're small compared to some of these metros and bigger cities. But these guys and gals on our team work just as hard as downtown St. Louis or any other big city, and they do it with a smile. And I've sent several people their way, and they've helped every one of them every time. So I just want to say a huge shout out to our fire department, our police department, and I thank them for what they do for us. I want to brag on the library. They do a fantastic job. They have taken on the fact that we are going to have Juneteenth as a major holiday for them. And so that's a wonderful thing. And the way they plan things, I'm telling you, it's going to be a blast to see them get ready for it. They have been running out of stock for the kits that they're providing every week. They run out. And we've got plans in the making to do some more stuff because so many people are gravitating to the reading program that they had. And this reading is one of the things that I advocate for, was off the chart. So I appreciate them for doing that. We do have a vacancy. The last person that the mayor assigned to that never showed up, and so she resigned. And so we have a seat available, and I'm looking for someone to apply. I realized that it's a mayoral appointment, but we've had some problems lately with mayoral appointments over in that area. So I'm asking for any ward, whatever the ward, anybody that is interested in the library business. And if you need some help with that, you can call me personally because I take it personal and I can give you the skivvy on what the library is doing. We have gone back to just 15 minutes in the library right now because of the rise in the COVID numbers. But I tell you, you wouldn't know that there was any difference because they're turning out work left and right. I ordered the telescope twice, and if any of you have not ordered the telescope, you get to use it for 7 days, and you can use it as many times as you want, but you got to turn it back in after 7 days. It is a treat, not just for children. It's a treat for adults. It's been a long time since I've got a chance to gaze. I just not had the time. But when I got the telescope, it let me know I was missing out on something that I really like. So I encourage you all to take a look at what's happening over at the library. I want to give a special thanks to City Manager Eric. We had some situations at the library where we were trying to get Wi-Fi in the park, and it had been lagging and all kinds of dragging along. And all he did was made one phone call to our director, and that has been settled. We did get the ECF grant, so we're going to be able to buy some more equipment at the library. And we put our minutes out in the website in the city. I wish somebody would take the time to find out what we're doing at the library. It's not just a building sitting there, and we're doing a lot of beautiful work for people who don't have computers, for people that need help with filling out forms. We do all of that. So that's the library deal, and thank you so much for that. I want to talk a little just a minute about the CRB. I was thoroughly disgusted at the status hearing this week, and I was real disgusted with the judge, because the judge allows this foolishness to go on by giving attaboys and that type of thing. What I really want her to do, and I'm going to send her a note, is to dig down and see what she's okie doking, because we've got policies being made that the people on the council don't know about. There's being, oh, we got this done. We have a place where we got a partnership that people on the council didn't know that we had a partnership. They reported that to the federal judge saying, oh, we got a partnership. How do you get a partnership and you don't, your whole team is not aware? When they brought that up at the meeting, and one of the judge's comments was, and I can see you doing very well. She, in my opinion, is saying to those who don't share information on this council, that's okay, because you're doing a good job. That is not okay. The last thing about the CRB, I've been saying this from the very get. We got people on the status call, and I'll name them. And I'll start because it's an A: attorney, the city manager, the chief of police, 2 DOJs. We've got the coordinator. We've got the, who is it? The gal who does the monitor. Not one person on the council is on those status calls. They make decisions for us. They can spend our tax dollars and tell us how we're supposed to do it, but not one of us on this council is on that status call. And I've asked many times, and I appreciate Apollo Curry, because every time I have this disagreement with it, he does his due diligence, and he goes to and let the judge know that I don't like it. She sends me back her answer, and this city ought not to like it, because what I deduce out of it all, my opinion, what she's sending me the message is, you know, you're not smart enough to understand what's being said by these people that we have. That's what I get out of it. And so we ought to question that as a city. We ought to talk about this blood-sucking consent decree. We ought to talk about, if you're happy with it, a 5-year plan, and now it looks like to me it's going to be a 10-year plan. If you happy with that, then forget anything I've said tonight. If you're not happy with that, if you're not disgusted that this council have meetings and send letters that we don't know about, then if you're happy with that, don't answer me. But if you're not happy with it, give me a call, because I want to send a letter that explains to the judge that we're not happy. Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're welcome, Councilwoman Burrow. At this time, we have Councilwoman Robinette.
All right. I'd also like to say thank you to our first responders. They honestly, I don't know how they do it. And especially with the pressure that they've been under day in and day out, certainly over the last now 2 years under COVID, it just gives me such a deep level of respect for them. And they continue to serve us and serve us well. So I really appreciate their efforts. The federal hearing, I thought it was interesting that this latest one, we had representation from all council. All of council was able to make that midday meeting. And you know what, I heard Councilwoman Burrow's frustrations. I think what frustrates me is the judge and the monitor seem to keep indicating that we're not ramping up our police force enough. And we're looking at this across the United States. This is not unique to Ferguson. It's not unique to St. Louis County. People are having trouble hiring new officers, and they're having trouble retaining officers that are currently there. When the defund the police movement came through. That was a tough time for police officers around the country. And we're still feeling, that fallout. And while we are very careful about our hiring practices to make sure that we're not taking part in what used to be pass the trash around St. Louis, it is hard to staff appropriately. And I feel like we're holding the short end of the stick no matter how hard we try. So it's hard to be optimistic when resources are constrained, and that's still what we're beaten over the head over again and again and again from the judge and the monitor. So I hope, and I do appreciate Attorney Carey's comments of that nature made to the judge on our behalf, that, we're trying. And I do want residents to understand that we're not dragging our feet. We're not doing anything to not make this go faster. Trust me, 5 years would have been ideal for the consent decree to be in place. And like Tony said, it's more likely to be 10. So I hope that we can get moving, and that, subsequent meetings with the judge, she understands our plight a little better. We're not going to meet every bit of criteria that their high hopes have for us, or it'll be a 25-year consent decree, which there are cities that have those. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that's a frustration for me, because we're trying to do the right thing, and it feels like we're being penalized for doing the right thing. So we'll just keep doing the right thing and hope that we get through it. I wanted to congratulate our city manager, Osterberg, for the ARPA meetings, which I thought were very well put together. I thought that the format was easy to follow, the breakout sessions, because I did one on Zoom. It was very easy to follow, and very unique people that were thrown together in a conversation that actually was a really good conversation. Actually, I was in with Councilwoman Griffin, and I thought, the group that we had was very interesting and had a lot of good ideas. So I just wanted to say I like the format, I like the survey. I appreciate you trying to get more people involved, and I think that, keep trying. We'll get as much feedback as we can, but I really appreciate your efforts there. And finally, I think a lot of us are at our wits' end. Early in the day, it seems like anymore, even at work today, somebody who's not normally an angry person vented on a call, and I thought, we're all feeling this. We're all going through stuff, and when we come together and try to have conversations that aren't easy to have, it's easy to lose our temper. It's easy to be frustrated quickly, and I see it in stores. I see it where workers are overworked and stores are understaffed, and people are getting yelled at because they're not doing something to the, fast enough or good enough. And I just ask, this is what I tell my family. I mean, like, wherever you go, be kind. That's one thing we can offer. Give grace. Lord knows I need grace sometimes too. I ask that we exercise a little more patience in dealing with each other. And I want to thank all the ladies on this council that I serve with. It isn't an easy job, and it isn't easy through this pandemic, but I appreciate everybody's passion, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve with you. So that's my sign out. Just be kind, everybody. Be kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robinette. At this time, we will hear from Councilwoman Lipka.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to start off by thanking the MPSC for inviting the candidates to introduce themselves this week. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk with the members. Also want to thank my fellow Councilwoman Phaedra Nelson. I really enjoyed my time with you. I really enjoyed my time that we worked together with Elliot and Jackie from the zoning company that we've hired contractor, as we drove around Ward 1 and pointed out some things of concern and areas of growth that we hope for. It was a good time. Not a good time in this. It was a good opportunity and a good time for working as a team, and it felt right. You know, with the traffic commission, I will say this: we've had more accidents on Hereford since the people died. And just 3 days ago, I don't know what better way to call it, a car crawl that with the people parked at Lee Hamilton, moved their way down. They were south of North Florissant. There was probably about 70 cars, all revving their engines, screeching their tires, racing up and down. They were on a 2-lane road, and they would pass each other and race in front, and then next guy would pass them and race in front. And it was nonstop stupidity. And it went through Calverton Park as well. The opportunity for catastrophe was written all over that. What if, you know, Ella, what if that were going past your house and you had somebody in your home that was having a heart attack and you had to get them to the hospital? You couldn't. Things like this are unacceptable, and things like this are happening in our community. And the Traffic Commission is trying very hard to stop it. And, you know, I just want to be very clear. I'm good with, you know, I have to be good with it. And I wasn't trying to do anything negative to anybody. I wasn't trying to move one over on something. I simply was trying to fill this commission. So if you have people from Ward 3 that will have their applications in by the next council meeting, that's awesome. Let's just get it filled and let's get the work going, because we have to. And anybody who wants to come to the Traffic Commission meetings and you can't get on the board right now, come to every traffic meeting, get your voice heard, help us out. Your help is still very important, even if you're not a certified board member. Maybe you're lucky you're not certified, but come to the meetings. And if it's something you're interested in, by all means, look forward to the next time we appoint people. I would also say that I would like to ask this board, this body, we need to get a work session on the calendar for the SOP. And we need to get something, we need to do it sooner than later, because, you know, even tonight, not having public comments open to anybody who wanted to make a comment irks me. And citizens have the right to speak up without having to turn it in by 5 o'clock the day before. So, you know, we talked about this. You guys all said that you wanted to bring it up during a work session. We need to get that work session on the calendar for the SOP and for the public comment changes. Let's see. I attended the quarterly meeting with Judge Perry. It was very informative. I like the fact that we will be having our first roll call training very soon. So thank you for that. I do see areas of major improvement that need to happen with regards to what Tony Burrow talked about. If we have situations where council members have things going on that they're sharing with the judge, then by all means share it with the rest of the council so that we can all be on board, or we can have a discussion. But the fact that you don't, or you haven't, looks shady. So, and I know you're not. So let's make sure that we have a clear understanding and a united front when we go, especially when we're talking to Judge Perry. Also, I just want to comment, you know, refer to a comment that, you know, respect is given, and I have respect for every single person on this council. But please do not confuse my direct questions, my stern voice of conviction, my fact that I will stand strongly by my arguments and points as disrespect. I am not going to rainbow and unicorn any situation, but I will promise you that I will be honest and I will be clear and I will be passionate about my convictions. So if you see that as disrespect, I apologize for your interpretation, but it is not. It is just me standing firmly by my beliefs. And then I'd also like to end with saying thank you so much to each and every one of you on this council tonight for supporting my motion to look at creating an ordinance to repeal, because protecting the integrity of our election process is imperative. Protecting the integrity of everything you've all worked hard for, that you will work hard for again if you run for reelection like Fran and I and Heather are. I mean, I don't want this to ever happen to anybody. It's happening to me, but I don't want it to happen to anybody else. And I want the integrity of this election to stand firmly as something that the citizens of this community can rely on. And the fact that we have an opportunity to turn those policing effects or efforts over to a governmental agency like the Missouri Ethics Commission is even better. We don't have to go find somebody. We don't have to hire somebody. We give it to the experts and they handle it. And we allow our staff to be the experts that they handle, and they don't have to worry about this one. So, and this protects the future electoral process for the city of Ferguson and keeps us transparent, fair, and honest. And it maintains the integrity of each and every one of you. So thank you so much. I am done.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka. Councilwoman Nelson.
Yeah, I basically want to start off by thanking Chief Hampton and the Ferguson Fire Department today. They were phenomenal in helping me over in Ferguson Woods today, be able to provide PPE totes over to the Ferguson Wood residents today from 10 to 2. We had phenomenal volunteers from Home Depot, and I appreciate the fact of being able to collaborate with Home Depot and the Y to be able to provide that for our citizens here in Ferguson.
You forgot to call me. I told you I wanted to be there with you.
I know, and it was so cold out there today.
Well, I would have been there with you in a heartbeat if I'd known.
Ridiculously cold, and we got done pretty quickly in a timely manner. I had awesome representation for volunteers today from the Florissant Target, from Home Depot, from the Y, and so I'm so grateful for everyone, especially Chief Hampton and his team of firefighters that came out and helped today. The residents were so thankful and grateful and thankful for the PPE totes and everything they received today. So I just want to commend Chief Hampton for coming through for me today and making sure that our residents know that they received all PPE items in their totes, as well as 2 smoke detectors and a CO2 detector, and the knowledge of knowing that if they needed assistance with those things being put in their homes, that they just had to call the Ferguson Fire Department and they would come to their home and put those items in for them. So I'm so grateful for them for that. I also have been able to do some wellness checks on the residents in Nesbitt Newton, as well as Hudson Hills. I know that, you know, this pandemic is still taking its toll on a lot of folks out here, and just checking in on our residents, let them know that they're being thought about, was really a good feeling for them to answer their door and know that, you know, I'm just doing a wellness check to see how you're doing and making sure everybody is okay, and just knowing that we're here and that they know that that the city is here for them. So it was great to be able to hit a lot of the homes in Nesbitt Newton and Hudson Hills. And again, I'll piggyback on Councilwoman Noah about the NIMS training, which was very informative, and just knowing about the preparedness and readiness for the city that's being prepared is phenomenal, and knowing all that information. I want to thank Eric also for the ARPA meetings and even providing those meetings. I know I sit on some other leadership cohorts in a lot of the other municipalities throughout North County. You know, people are asking those questions to their cities about what are they going to do with those ARPA funds. And I'm just grateful and thankful that Eric pulled together these Zoom meetings and in-person meetings for our city, for our residents, and for their voices to be heard, and know that their voices do mean a lot. And we want to hear from them is very important and very vital. And so I appreciate you, Eric, for doing that and making sure that we had representation from our residents and letting them be heard of how they would like to see ARPA funds provided for in their city. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nelson. City Manager.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add tonight.
Clerk Pittman.
No, I don't have any report.
Attorney Carey.
I have nothing, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, well, I just would like to say thank you to the fire department, the police department for everything they do for the residents of the city of Ferguson and for the surrounding communities. Just want to say congratulations to Trayvon Walker. He has been appointed as one of the directors to forward through Ferguson. So we are very proud of you for getting that appointment. In addition to that, I walked with Councilwoman Nelson and we did wellness checks and the residents were really pleased. And our goal is to cover the city, just knocking on doors, letting people know, hey, we care about you. In addition to that, today was super cold. It was just super, super cold outside, but we were able to support Home Depot and the Emerson Family YMCA with that project. So I am excited I had the opportunity to be there. As far as the initiative that's going on in Canfield Green, now known as Pleasant View Garden, it's not nothing new. Washington U has been working over there. They were a part of the reason why a lot of those residents were not evicted. And they continue to work over there, the law school and the Brown School of Social Work with their town and gown program. So glad to be a part of that. So that's all I have tonight. At this time,
Mayor,
Mayor,
I apologize. I have one thing that I forgot to mention, if you don't mind letting me. It's regarding a citizen of Ferguson. So we lost a citizen, Jeff Apple, passed away from COVID, and he was part of the BTC community as well as, obviously Ferguson. But he's a younger man in his 40s and is leaving behind a wife and 5 children. And his funeral, his visitation will be February 1st. His funeral will be February 2nd. And I just wanted to ask people to send their prayers and heartfelt condolences to his family, because as they start this new journey, it's going to be a heartbreaking one. And I want to also say that unfortunately I won't be there because I will be having a heart procedure on the 1st. So would love your prayers for my quick recovery from that. But it's something. Jeff Apple is an amazing man. He is a terrific human being. He comes from a terrific family and he's long rooted in Ferguson, and it is a huge loss. And I just wanted to express my condolences to his family and ask for prayers from everyone.
Thank you, Councilwoman. City Manager, I see you have your hand up.
I apologize. I was remiss. I did have one update for City Council that I forgot to give earlier, as Frank is absent, our Chief McCall. We do have 2 officers who will be both hopefully starting within the next couple of weeks here. So some good news.
Great news, great news, great news. And just want to share that we lost one of the ladies who was very, very, very faithful to the Forestwood neighborhood meeting. Brenda Fowler, she passed away, and yes, she passed away. She lived at 42 Fenwick, and her family called me, and I had the opportunity to do a visitation with the family. So please keep her family in your prayers. So without any other statement, Octavia, council people, I would love to entertain a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
Tony Burrows, so moved.
Second, Heather Robinette.
Okay, it has been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Everyone have a good night. Take care, stay warm.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey.